The big things that I wish, that I would have known or at least had a better understanding of are things like the tax implications. It's things like how the net metering works here in Florida, because the net metering has a big implication on the implementation, on what you're actually buying into, and certain options like batteries don't make sense. So far, once we got through that initial, just a timing thing, since I got it installed at the beginning of the year, after summer, over the winter when we've been using the AC a lot less, the bills have been great. I've been getting credits from Duke Energy, and so I actually haven't paid a bill in a couple months. So at one point, the unit stopped reporting its data to the phone app, and at one point I noticed, because I was going to show it to somebody, and I realized that I didn't have any information about how much it was generating. So I just put in a quick call to Golden. They came out, checked it out, figured out that it needed to be replaced, and worked with the manufacturer to get a new unit sent out. And they got it replaced, and data started showing up, and it was all good. So my experience with the install team, I would say, was pretty positive. I always had a project manager that I could call and ask any questions. The teams that actually showed up on site, everybody was super helpful, super friendly. They answered all the questions I had, and they really just kind of worked with my schedule. So I'd say that it was very convenient. I think the process was a lot easier than I was expecting, because I thought that, I had this idea that I was going to have to really be involved, and I was going to have to go through the process of scheduling all these different people and coordinating all these logistics. And really, the project manager took care of everything, so it was pretty convenient. I'd been looking at solar for a long time, just kind of looking out at the world and considering what kind of effect I could have on the world, on reducing my carbon footprint. And so solar seemed like a really accessible option just for me as a consumer, somebody, a homeowner, just a regular, ordinary person. And so I went through the process, and I started looking at prices and what my options were. And once I found that we had a great local solar provider, I went in and talked to them. They answered a ton of my questions, and Golden really helped make that decision easy. After doing a lot of research on solar, I had decided that I wanted to go solar for a couple of years before I actually acted on it. And really, I just kind of had to wait for a couple of things to line up, career-wise, financially, getting settled into a new house. And when all of these things lined up, it was just kind of the perfect opportunity. And, I just made it happen. I talked to a bunch of friends who were, of course, curious about the fact that I was going solar. And a lot of the questions that I answered had to do with sort of upfront costs. A lot of people think that it's heavily capital intensive in front. You have to have a lot of money to get it set up. A lot of people don't understand the way the tax incentives work and the way the finance is set up with the way that our net metering system here in Florida balances everything out with the financing of the solar system. And so I answered a lot of those questions, and it really, I tell my friends, hey, there's nothing stopping you from getting a quote. and it'll answer all of your questions. Going solar is one of the easiest and most accessible ways for the average consumer to really make a dent in the universe. We can make the world a better place, and lowering your carbon footprint is something that will not only affect you, your family, your bank account, but just the environment and the world as a whole. Yeah, I mean, before going solar, really you have no choice but to be a part of that system. You might have an account with the local energy company, but you don't really have a choice as to how that energy is generated. You don't have a choice on anything that they can do to improve or to mind the environment. And really, this was a way to step out of that system and to, take control, really.
How does it feel now on the day to day when you're like turning on a light or living the just what does it feel like being net zero?
Being net zero feels great because it means that I can make the decisions knowing full well where that energy is coming from, especially during the day when the sun is beaming on a beautiful Florida day, and I know that the decisions I make aren't going to have a negative impact on the environment. Actually, you answered all of my questions way better than any other vendor had, and really put a lot of my fears and unknowns at rest. So, shortly after I finished installing the solar array, the Duke Energy rates actually went up. And so, once I was done with the process, my system immediately became more valuable, and I did nothing. So far, I definitely feel like it's been a great investment for me. I financed my system, and the financing process was really easy. And one of the things that is great to know and understand is that over time, if there are energy increases just in general, I know that I'm locked in at that price. So it's not a cost that's going to run away from me over time. And I'm a really big fan of this